What's up, guys? So today we're going to do that boost controller. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I've been kind of another thing I've been procrastinating on. But when on the last video during the launch control, I noticed it's becoming a real problem. So it's definitely something I need to address. And we'll just go through and I'll show you guys how to hook it up and the way I'm going to hook it up. And there's a couple different ways you can hook it up and some of the things that it can do. So let's go over there and check it out, and let's start working on it. Okay, so here's the kit that I ordered. It was on eBay, really cheap. It was like 20 or 30 bucks. I don't remember what it was. It was a little while ago when I bought it. So this is all what it came with. It came with it's basically just a 3-port Mac valve, and you can probably see the part number on there. But and it came, what I liked about this kit was, I mentioned in the previous video about these hard lines, and these hard lines are really good for boost solenoids and you know, blow off valves and all that stuff, and wastegates. It's really good for that. So that's why I went with this little kit here. I mean, the Mac valves are all pretty much the same. So, and it comes with these nice push lock fittings that, you know, this will screw into the top of your wastegate. This one here will screw into the turbo housing. This one we're gonna put in right here to replace that barb fitting. Oh yeah, new toy. The grass around here doesn't have a chance, this thing. But no, I got I picked up a used zero turn, because I have a pretty big property here, and I have a tractor that I mow with, and also another tractor that my wife uses to mow. But this one here will help get around the small areas much quicker. So, but anyway, maybe another video we'll look at that. But anyway, so yeah, like I said, it came with all these fittings, which is good, and these are actually really simple to hook up. There's really not much to it. Okay, you basically tee off of your compressor housing, okay? Then you go to the this number 1 valve here, number 1 port. You go into that. Let me draw a little diagram and make it. It'll make it much easier. Or I can show you on my phone. Yeah, here we go. So this is off of if you Google the DIY auto tune. These guys have a lot of information on their website. This is how I'm going to hook it up. It's really simple. You know, you have your compressor housing going here. It tees off and goes into the number 1 port. The center port is just a vent. So it's got like a little filter on it that vents to the atmosphere. Okay? And then it goes through to the top of the wastegate, and your T will come off and go to the bottom of the wastegate. So if this isn't activated, so let's say you hook this up just like this and nothing's activated. Okay, the computer's not pulsing the valve. What's going to happen is you're just going to get, basically, you're going to get the top of the valve, the top of the wastegate is going to be open to atmosphere. Okay, it's going to come through here and come out this this vent right here, so it'll be open to atmosphere. The compressed, you know, your compressed air from the compressor housing is going to be pushing on the bottom of the wastegate. Okay, so that's where your spring pressure comes into play. Okay, so the way it works is when you add one of these boost solenoids, or boost controllers I should call it, I'm calling it a boost solenoid, but when you add one, what you're going to want to do is lower your spring rate. Okay, so my wastegate came with different springs, okay, that go into the actual wastegate. And right now I have like a 14 or 15 pound spring in there, okay? And what it's making on a 14 or 15 pound spring, it's making around 21 pounds of boost, okay? That's not abnormal. It never really translates to, you know, what the spring pressure says the boost should be. It rarely translates because there's a lot that goes into that. Basically, like wastegate design. So this manifold, okay, this manifold here, this CX Racing manifold, has the wastegate coming out the side and then down, and it's a, I believe it's a 44 millimeter. So that's what causes your boost to go above the spring pressure, is because it's not able to get rid of the exhaust, okay? And this is normal on most manifolds. A really, really good designed manifold, it will give you your, the spring rates are gonna give you the boost that it says it will, okay? But it's a CX Racing manifold, you get what you get. I mean, if you start having like boost creep, it means your wastegate's not big enough. That's pretty much what it means. So what happens whenever you activate the solenoid? So what happens is it, when this activates, it turns off the vent, it turns this vent off and runs straight through, okay, the valve. So you're going from the compressor housing straight through to the top of the gate, okay, and it pushes down on the gate. Okay, when it pushes down on the top of the gate, it's holding it closed. Okay, so what you're doing is you're taking the spring pressure, say your 10-pound spring, and it's adding boost on top of that. So you're turning a 10-pound spring into a 20-pound spring or a 30-pound spring or whatever. Now there's only so much you can do. With one of these, there's only, I think, I'm not 100% sure of this, I'll have to look it up, but you'll get the idea of what I'm talking about. There's only a certain percentage you can move. So if you got a 10-pound spring, I don't know if you can go 20, 30% more boost. I'm not 100% sure on that. It just depends. Now, the way you get around that, which we're not gonna do and I'm not gonna get into, is be like a CO2 type boost controller where it adds extra pressure to the top of the gate. So you'd be adding on top of that a compressed gas on top of the gate, which would hold it closed. You can go 60, 70, 80 pounds of boost. That's how those guys do that, when you get into those ranges. We're not going to be getting into that type of range because we're not going to be going in those extremes. If I'd be happy with 30 pounds of boost. So I think we can achieve that with this setup, depending on what spring pressure. If it's like a 15, 16 pound spring and this thing makes 21 pounds on that, and we can go up 20%, get us close to 30 because of the design of the manifold is always going to be, the boost is always going to be higher, like I said before, than what the spring is telling you it should be. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And as far as the wiring goes, it's just 12 volts signal. Okay, it's pulse width modulated from the ECU master. It's one wire to ground and one wire to the ECU master, and it's just going to pulse that. Okay, it's going to pulse this to achieve, the boost pressure it wants. And it's going to read it off the map sensor and adjust it accordingly. Okay, so we got the wastegate out of the car, and I just wanted to show you that these push lock fittings that come with the kit, this is a precision 44 millimeter wastegate, I believe. Yeah. So you basically take off the regular fitting there, the barb fitting, and you're replacing it with this, okay, which is going to be much better, hooking up those hard lines than say a silicone line. So that just goes on there. It's already got like a little thread locker on it, and we're also going to replace this one. We're also going to replace this one here, say with this one, okay. So it's going to end up looking like that because we're going to use both top and bottom, whereas before I left the top, I left it vented to atmosphere. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you how I changed the spring in this too. So when I'm pulling the wastegate apart to change springs, what I like to do is clamp it to a bench or whatever, clamp it to something so this gets held down. Because when you start pulling these screws out, if it's not clamped, what's going to try to do is when you get to the last ones or you get to the last thread, it's going to want to try to rip it out of this aluminum, and that'll destroy it. So make sure you clamp it and take all the screws out, and then you can release the clamp. Okay, so we got everything apart, no damage to the threads, so we're all good there. Here is the springs that were in there. Okay, a green and a red. So I have my little chart here. Oh, by the way, this is a 46 millimeter wastegate. Sorry, I said it was a 44. It's a 46. So what we have in there is a red and green. So we were running a 9 and a 6. Okay, 9 and a 6. That's 15 pounds. So like I said before, with a 15 pound spring rate, it was making around 21 pounds of boost. So that's, like I said before, that's pretty typical depending on the design of the manifold. So what we're going to do is I'm most likely just going to go ahead and take off the 6 and leave it at 9, and which, if you consider it went from 15 to 21, so I'm guessing the 9 will probably be around 13 or 14 pounds of boost. If I did nothing else, if the boost controller wasn't active, it would probably make around 13, 14 pounds of boost, which could be perfect for the launch. If it can stay that low, it should be able to launch okay. If it doesn't, then we're gonna have to go down even further, which I would have to do like a combination, say, of a 6 and a 1.5, which would give me 7.5. So maybe that would get me in the 12, 11 range. It just depends. But I do want to try the 9 first. Let's try it with 9. It's very simple to change, so we'll do that and we'll start hooking it up. Okay, so here you have it. It's finished. Plumbing wise, not wiring. We still have to wire it, but as far as the plumbing goes, you can see it comes off of here to the T. One goes to the bottom of the wastegate, just like here. And the one that comes out of port number 3 goes to the top of the wastegate. I'm sorry, port number 2 goes to the top of the wastegate. This is vented to atmosphere, and that's pretty much it. Goes under the car right there and hooks to the wastegate. Pretty simple. Anybody can do this. But yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for this video. I just wanted to show you guys how to hook it up, the plumbing wise, and I'll get it wired, and then probably the next video we'll be playing around with some of the settings to see if we can get it to change, boost levels, see if I can play with the launch control and get it to control the boost to where I can launch at the correct boost setting I want. So like instead of like the other day when it was creeping up, it was up to 21 pounds of boost on the trans brake, which we don't want that. We don't want to, we don't want it running away like that. So, all right guys, that's gonna do it. I will check you all later, and like, share, and subscribe. See ya.